And also another unusual thing is that my father's last name is very different from his brother's. And also another unusual thing And also another unusual thing is that my father's last name is very different from his brother's. His last name is Amanke, but his brother's last name is Amanke. In the case of my mother, she told me that our last name Ballena is not by chance, but due to an accident that my great-grandparents had when registering their last names. What happened is that the person is charged misheard their last names. My great-grandparents were originally named Villena, but I was changed to Ballena. If no accident had happened by my father and mother, I would be called Jean-Pierre Antero Amanke Villena. Good morning, teacher. My name is Jean-Pierre, and my last name is Amanke Ballena. I will narrate in anecdotes and summary of my life. On March 9 of this year, I turned 20 years old. In my family, it is not usual to celebrate the holidays, since my parents are busy working and we who are three brothers do not make us problems with the king of the festivity. But this year I could celebrate it because thanks to my cousin and her husband, I could celebrate it. I do not like to be taken in unsuspected photos, so I have none, but I have picture of them. But this year I could celebrate it because thanks to my cousin and her husband, I could celebrate it. I do not like to be taken unsuspecting photos, so I have none, but I have picture of them. When they arrived, I was caught off guard, as I thought it would be a normal day. I am not a gay either, but for a very special situation, I had to. I am not a gay either, but for a very special situation, I had to. I enjoyed it very much, and when my parents arrived at night, we all celebrate even more. Number 2. Going back in time. When I was a child, I always got sick, and that hurt my parents a lot. Especially my mother, since she was the one who always took me to the hospital urgently. My parents made me try everything to cure me. One of those foods was toccoch. At first I did not like it, but little by little, with a habit, I began to like it. Today I still eat it, and I perceive that the taste has changed over time. No, I can even eat it without sugar. Now, going to the other extreme. One of the few foods that I do not like is ceviche. Yes, I know. I do not look like a Peruvian if I say this, but it is what it is. I hope that someday, as in the case of Tokoch, the same then will happen to the me with ceviche. On my father is said they are all brothers, but only one is a sister. And also another universal thing is that my father's last name is very different from his brother's. And also another universal thing. No, and also another universal thing is that my father's last name is very different from his brother's. His last name is Amanke, but his brother's last name is Amanke. In the case of my mother, she told me that our last name Ballena is not by chance. But due to an accident that my great grandparents had when registering their last names. What happened is that the person is charged misheard their last names. My great grandparents were originally named Villena, but I was changed to Ballena. If no accident had happened by my father and mother, I would be called Jean-Pierre Antero Amanke Villena. Its taste was horrible. My family is somewhat peculiar. On my mother's side, there are all sisters and only one brother. I started working from a very young age. My first job was when I was 7 years old. I remember that I was with my parents and my grandmother, harvesting potatoes in the puna. Every time I found an extremely large potato, I was happy. Until now, I remember that everything was very fun what he did in those days. Years later, in my second years of high school, I started working with my uncle at his house. He worked almost 30 hours a day. He was a seamstress. I was in charge of guiding the prints of the hats. The work was easy, but very boring. I only worked there for 1 month, enough to cover my needs. The deer job was the most difficult I had. It was a company that was dedicated to export of clothing, polo, shirts, blouses, shirts. The deer job was the most difficult I had. It was a company that was dedicated to the export of clothing, polo shirts, blouses, shorts, and more. I was in the vaporization area. It was one of the best paid positions in the company. But its level of demand was high. You spend practically 12 hours standing in front of a steaming table. You put the garment on it and with a special would it you iron. The first days of 12 hours I suffered like no other. Little by little, Chino, por favor. Little by little, I got used to it and made friends. Now, thanks to the other jobs I have had, I was able to save enough money to pay for my studies. I also bought some very good hardware to continue the study that I longed for. I also studied financial intelligence, which I discovered thanks to the author Robert Kiyosaki. Thanks to him, I know I opened up a wide world of opportunities for me. And I currently have a lot of ideas that I have in my mind, and I would like to create some of them. I want to study software development at Senati and not at universities, because the time was too long to enter any of them. When I finish my studies, it is very likely that I will be validated with a university. This is a small summary of my life, but before I go, I would like to add something else. Currently, I am left with the phrases that I learned during this last time. Number 1. A person with a great idea in his head can change the world from a computer. It is better to be very creative than to be too intelligent, because creativity can solve problems that would cause others much more. See you. Goodbye.